go.
Welcome to the Sunshine Coast Foil Festival for 2022, the inaugural. You're here with Mike Walker and Lisa Hickman for Sunshine Coast Kite Racing and Mooloolaba Yacht Club.
Day 3.
Yes, day 3. We've had pretty challenging conditions. Day 1, very big swell. We've got a cyclone swell pushing into the east coast of Australia at the moment, and we've got southeast flow of wind, and it's challenging conditions. Day 1, we only got the wing foil expression session in. Day 2, we got some wing foil racing in, and now we're in day 3, the final day of the event, and it's looking great. We've got the kites up and we've got the wings out. The courses have been set and everybody's just testing their lines and preparing for racing.
I think it's going to be an exciting and challenging day for our competitors.
Yeah, I think it will be too. So we've just like to give you a little bit of context of where we are. Sunshine Coast, north of Brisbane, east coast of Australia, and yeah, it's a beautiful place in the part of the world. And we'll cut to the there we go. Sunshine Coast in Mooloolaba.
And it's exciting for me, in particular, to be here with you because this is our playground and it's a fantastic opportunity to showcase this amazing spot that we have to anyone who is either tuning in now or who may tune in the future.
We've got some footage live from the beach now. There's still some competitors down on the beach. They're leaving the beach, getting out on the water. We'll take you to that footage now, live. Who have we got here? This looks... Is that Oscar? Or Jake? Possibly that's Jake. So it's challenging conditions down on the beach to launch. The wind is coming over his back there. It's a wind shadow. You can see there's got some assistance people holding the kites so they fill up with a bit of air, and now he's going to try to tease it up out of the wind shadow of those trees. You can see the flags are blowing away from the pilot there over the water. As soon as he gets it up a little bit higher, that will get into the wind. There he goes. He's in the wind now, and his kite will be filling up, becoming more stable once it's full and got that proper airfoil shape. And that looks like a challenging launch. Big thanks to... Oh, it's fallen down again. Yeah, you can see how challenging it is. But the good news is that once they get out into the water, a little bit more clean air, they'll have a much easier time. So it's about as hard as it gets to launch a kite in these conditions. Full wind shadow off the ground, shaky turbulent air, big rotors, big shore break from a cyclone swell, carrying a foil. These guys are experts, but still a challenge.
Yeah, it really does showcase their skill. If they can get off the beach in this just to get to the start line, they're doing very well.
And here's the next person lining up for a launch. So they're putting a little bit of sand along the trailing edge of the kite, and they'll have some assistance. This is a direct downwind launch.
Vacuum cleaner, very important job.
There we go, we've got an air blower to help fill it up.
Good idea.
A little bit of
So it's just giving the kite a bit of shape so that it can fly a lot easier.
Where are you from? Townsville. Good luck, mate.
Yeah, these guys are doing a great job. So these kiters, they'll head out onto the water. They've got about probably 2 kilometres to travel, essentially straight downwind to get to the course, and then they're in position for racing. At the same time, we might cut to the long lens on the wing course, and we've got quite a few wingers out there at the moment. The wing foilers are preparing to race. There's a big ship in the background waiting to come into Brisbane. and the wing foils in the foreground. You can really see that swell peeling off the point there to the right of screen. Fantastic
I'm watching
surfing.
two kiters over to the left, really lining up, and yeah, we can see we're going to have some fantastic racing coming up from the kiters.
Perhaps we could get the long lens on those two kites over there while we've got that opportunity. I think that's Jean de Falbert in the white kite. I'm not sure who's in the other one. It's possibly Hector.
Possibly Jalen, actually. So Jalen's got a light green and grey kite, and it's very hard to tell from where we are, but there's definitely light green.
Yeah.
Unless it's an F1, in which case it could be a Tim.
Jean de Falbert is almost certainly in that white O zone. He's a very fast racer. I think that might be Oscar or Jake on that green kite. That's an F1 for sure. And they're both fast enough to keep up with Jean.
Yes, we've got another similar coloured kite coming out, so I reckon they're the Tim brothers.
Very good, what a great shot. So these guys are experts at this. They've got their skills together. Tacking, jibing, high speed. Actually, there's Jean on the beach looking at the other camera. Sorry, not Jean, Hector.
The national champion?
Hector is the national champion.
Hey, Hector. Mate, have you all set?
Yeah. Get out of the way. Got sticky loan, but I think she's alright.
Have you had a session out here yet?
Not this time, but a few months ago I had a session.
Yeah. What do you think of it as a location for foiling?
Yeah, it's great out there. It's pretty flat and sweaty, so it's good training. One time, 3 times, stuff like this.
What sort of speed do you think you might hit today?
Between 30 and 40 knots, for sure, yeah.
Alright, cool. It's going to be exciting to watch, mate.
Yeah.
Oh well, and what gear are you riding?
I'm riding Flamax kites and playing for.
Alright, cool. Well, good luck today, mate.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully it's going to be fun for you to watch.
Yeah, great. Alright, have fun.
Yeah.
Good stuff, great interview. Thanks, Ollie, on the beach. Thank you, Hector. It's really interesting footage to see these guys trying to launch in these challenging conditions.
Let's rip this stuff.
Exciting stuff down on the beach there. The national champion from a fairly recent competition, December in Perth, Hector Pateral. His sister's also competing. Actually, no, sorry, she was due to compete, but she's not here today.
So we have Riley. I think she'll be the sole female competitor, and all credit to her. I hope she has a fantastic race out there today. And you were saying that we have the African champion with us.
Yeah, that's right. Jean de Falbert from Mauritius. He's been competing in the various regattas around Africa, and he's won. So congratulations, Jean. He's come over here to cross-pollinate his skills with the Australians. There goes Riley. Great help from all the volunteers on the beach. Reasonably high tide there. Big swell pushing in.
I think for me, one of the exciting things about this race today is the youth. We've got so many young riders coming up, and it begs the question: are we watching perhaps the future Australian representative at the upcoming Brisbane Olympics that will be held in this spot?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, isn't it? There's First time we've actually had kiteboarding in the Olympics will be in 2024 in Paris. So yeah, in 3 Olympics time it'll be here on this waterway that we're viewing now.
You know, and I'd like to ask you, as someone who has been absolutely instrumental in this sport from the very early days. So we're talking, 30 years ago when kite surfing first came into its own. You're someone who's seen freestyle,
30. That's
wave
not
riding.
exaggerating. I'm not that old.
But you've seen it all. You've
Let's
done it
say
all.
2000.
How exciting is it for you to see it? I guess reach the Olympics.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I've been involved with the sport for that long, since it started. It was super exciting in the early days. There was, if somebody had a kite, they were your friend straight away, and because there was probably only 10 or 20 kiters in the country, and it was a real camaraderie, and there was a few events, and yeah, it was good fun. And just watch the sport evolve since then, and shops and schools and techniques and equipment and events and clubs and organisations all evolving, and it's been really good to watch, good part of my life. Yeah. And now it's really exciting to see it go to that peak level in the Olympics. And
there's just so many people that I guess are behind the riders that we see today. We're going to hopefully hear from a fellow called Ryan Pauk a bit later on. He's the pathway coach, and he has been instrumental in the progress of a number of the young riders that we'll see here today. He's had youth development camps. There's probably not too many people competing that haven't benefited in some way from his wisdom. He's a gun racer himself. He always pushes at the front of the fleet. So just fantastic to have his influence. And the other thing is, when you get the young riders, I started sailing, and I understand what it's like for the parents to really support. I had my mum just helping me cart my boat from nationals to nationals, and it's exactly the same with these riders. The parents are there behind them, taking them to these competitions. The competitions are so important for the riders to get that sort of higher level experience. But there's always that team of people that supports them. We've got people here from an international stage. It must have been incredibly challenging for these riders during COVID. I can't imagine how they, sort of prepared and trained.
Well, you're no stranger to that yourself, Lisa. You've been on the kite racing circuit in the past. You managed to climb to 5th in the world at one point.
Look, that was a while ago, but what I guess just watching all the riders out there today, it's bringing back, sort of a lot of the excitement. There is so much that is... I really do love this sport, and maybe we can talk a little bit as we go through the day about some of the unique aspects of it that are absolutely adrenaline pumping. For me, the starts, there are slightly different rules in kite racing to sailing, and that means that at the start you're essentially playing the ultimate game of chicken. You want to be on the start line at the right spot at the right time. However, if you get it wrong, then you can be over and there's your race gone straight away. And
most regattas, most race officers in kite foiling, they don't have a penalty turn or anything like that. If you're over on the start, that's your race done. So you don't want to be over.
Yeah, and in addition to that, they've changed the rules for kite racing so that in the lead up to the start, in the last 1 minute, you can't substantially alter your course, your kite. If you do, you have to give way. And you can imagine why that rule is in place, because you've got a large amount of people and their equipment that all need to fit over that start line. And the last thing you want is someone bringing their kite up quite dramatically, because tangles are a thing. I've been involved in so many tangles on the start line. It's probably one of the more exciting parts of the sport. But yeah, the starts.
What a scene. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, the potential for tangles, and well, in normal sailing, there's quite a lot of tactics leading up to the start line, aren't there? You're kind of pushing the other boats around a bit, using the rules to your advantage. Not so much in this sport. There's still some, obviously, but...
I disagree. I think that, if you break kite racing down, there's 3 elements that are really critical, and you'll see it more and more at the top end. So first of all is your boat speed, and again, slightly different to sailing. This is probably the only class I can think of where a rider is the link between the aerodynamic force coming through the kite and the hydrodynamic force through the board, and that's quite unique. In a typical sailing class, you've got a tiller which the skipper will sort of yank left and right, whereas to actually steer yourself around the course, there's just so many fine movements between the kite and your feet. So much coordination.
Not to mention the power.
Yes.
The power through the mast, through the boat itself, it's not the same as through your legs.
And the thing is that if you come off at speed, everything is high stakes. You can be, the riders are travelling, particularly downwind, they can be up to, 50, 60 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, have a look at this one on the screen now. That's probably Jean de Falbert from Mauritius. And he, I would say, is probably heading upwind at about 25 knots, something like 50 k's an hour, maybe a little bit less. He's standing about a metre above the water. The wind out there looks like it's probably about 12 knots. There's not too many white caps. So he's just practicing his positioning.
And just what you saw there, to be able to tack and jibe successfully at this level is incredibly difficult. The number of times these riders have crashed and fallen off, you wouldn't believe it. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tacks and jibes
There goes
just
another
to be
launch.
able to successfully compete at this level.
Oh, he's got a bit of power there, into the wind and straight down.
That's awesome.
Below his kite. Power drag across the beach. Someone will hand him his foil. It is a challenging launch into the inner wind shadow. However, the good thing is straight downwind, which is the easiest direction to go, is into the water and out into the cleaner air. So you can see that kite is flying relatively nicely there. It's not collapsing and falling backwards. There's a lot of jerky movements. That's the turbulence.
We've got just off the beach here, right in front of us, the Tim brothers, I believe, lining
trouble.
up. Ooh,
There's trouble. Is his kite down? No, he saved it. Well done.
And that's the
Oh,
thing,
it's
when
still in a turbulent spot there. It's falling again.
if we talk about equipment for a second, these kites are so high aspect ratio. They're designed to fly very fast through the air. It means that as a handler, you need to be really on your game. If you put one of these kites down in the water during a race or before the start, it can be incredibly tricky to relaunch, and it can actually ruin your day.
Yeah, you've got a couple of minutes of the kite sitting on the water before it's got too much water in it to really feasibly launch and keep going again. So
Becomes a big sea anchor.
yeah. And high aspect ratio, the aspect ratio of either the foil or the kite is a simple formula, the width divided by the length. And so if it's really long, really wide and not very long, it'll be a high number, and that's a high aspect ratio. They're long and thin, more like a ribbon, less like a square, and essentially that gives them more lift to surface area, more length to surface area, more leading edge to their surface area, which gives you the lift, more powerful but less manoeuvrable, harder to turn, harder to control, less stable when they get to the extremities of the wind that they can use, out to the edge of the wind window, we call it. The wind window is an area of sky that's downwind of the anchor of the kite. So the rider is the anchor. Downwind from them is where the kite can fly. We call that the wind window. And when it's right out to the edge of that, out to the side of the wind, they become less stable, especially these high aspect wings.
So just having a look at the course. Oh, actually, if you have a look at the wings, they're lining up.
There's the launch. Oh, sorry. Yeah. There's our beach site, and
Can we just have a look at the course for a second, because it would be quite useful just to give people a feel of the conditions out there. And so what I can see is the top end of the course where the wings are hanging out. There's some pretty turbulent, it's fairly gusty coming off the land there. Looking back to where the kites are racing, it's going to be quite shifty. I can see that there's quite a bit of pressure difference coming through. So it
Sorry,
could be
Lisa,
quite...
I'll just cut you off there. There goes our national champion. He's just launched off the beach, and he's getting himself into the water. Hector Patarao carrying it in. His kite's not fully filled up there. You can see it's folding at the wingtips. It's not
Here it
flying all
goes.
that well, but he's pretty confident to just fly it. But he's using about 15-metre lines there, and the height of the trees behind him are causing a wind shadow. Also about 15 metres, so it's quite challenging for him to get his kite up above the turbulent air.
And I think Kai just putting that little bit of air just to give that kite some shape. There we go.
Oh, Hector's in trouble.
There he goes, back up.
Yeah, we've got a battery-powered blower filling their kites up with air. Normally, when they're flying along, going through the sky like that, the air is hitting that leading edge and opening up the sock that's there. There's a tube of fabric going inside that kite. The air flows in, and then the back pressure, once it's in, closes it off so the air doesn't come out. But it's always under pressure from the leading edge, but not when you're first launching it. That's why they've got the extra the battery-powered blower. There goes Kai with the blower now. He's going to fill up that next kite on the beach.